right, man. All right, Kiana. Man of prestige. You ain't got no weaponry, do you? Okay. All right. How's it going, brother? I'm gonna drop down. Let y'all banter.
You're good, man. Thank you, man. How you doing? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good, very good. So I'll give you a little bit of context. I think context matters in these conversations, and we don't get it, and we don't ever get context. What do I mean by context? It starts with, hey, who are you? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have some stories? I understand it's the internet. We don't. It's okay for people not want to share that. But it really doesn't help us because we are talking in generalities. We're generalizing like all day today. I think the only thing closest to any form of example is maybe Ron earlier on, way like 2 hours ago. Maybe Wrench at one point did say he wasn't married. He said something like that. But everything else is just people generalizing, and it doesn't really help the conversation because one thing I hear Alan talk about a lot is the nuances and the context, and you can't get to that part of the conversation if all we're going to do is generalize. I can sit down here and say, no, a man should love a woman more, right? Or no, a woman should love a woman more, right? Or vice versa, right? But with respect to what? What are we talking about exactly, right? What's the situation? What's the scenario? What happened? Why are we having that conversation? If we don't have that, we're just blowing hot here. We're making money on YouTube, and that's about all we're going to get from it.
hmm
You know?
I, I do think that there is some value in context, just in general. I think context helps things because, you know, it just helps.
Yeah.
But I think that people get triggered a lot when you speak and say I or talk about yourself, and then they use it to like discredit whatever you said because
Hmm.
it's not in alignment with how they think. And so I do know a lot of people err on the side of generalization just because it's like a safer thing to say. Like
It's
people
safe.
don't, yeah, like they don't get so upset about it for whatever reason if you just say in general, but then you're making or creating or perpetuating stereotypes about people. So
Right.
it's like a double-edged sword, I guess.
Right. Right. So I've been married for 15 years. So, sometimes I listen to this conversation, I start to feel like I didn't learn shit in all of that time. Because I'm hearing things that I'm like, okay. But I'm forced to conclude that this it goes back to is everybody speaking from their experience. They may not want to admit it. It is what it is. But to the question, let me just answer the questions because I know some people are probably in the backstage wanting to speak. Should a man love a woman more or should a man love the man more? It depends. I know they hate the answer, but it depends. Like, what are you talking about, right? It depends, okay? Now, in the conversation all day today, I heard about 50 different contexts. At one point, we were talking about romance. The other time, we were talking about community. At one point, we tried to merge it together and try to make it one, but it was all cap. Let me just be honest with you. It was cap. It wasn't the same thing. Again, two different contexts. You can't try to merge it together and then make it sound good and then we sound all cool and everything is good. No, it's not good. It might be good right now. If you're in an echo chamber, it's probably easy. It can be good easily because everybody agrees with you. But when you get back to your real life, you're gonna find out that, oh wait, I actually love her more. I'm actually the weak link here. I actually don't love myself, right? Because you talked about self-love earlier, and self-love is really key here because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
You can't try to love if you don't love yourself. Now, in other contexts, some people are just selfish and they shouldn't be talking about self-love. Context, what are we talking about, right? So it's easy to generalize and disagree with me because you heard one sentence or agree with me because you heard one sentence, right? It really depends. The way I operate, the way I believe is what Courtney mentioned earlier on, way earlier on. Men should be focused on respect, especially if you're a man of faith. You should understand that, listen, the idea that you're just going to love more is probably not like if we stay within context, right? You're not. It's not gonna add up, right? What you're gonna get. The instruction is that you should love your wife, right? And then the other side of it is respect. And then when you look at the social construct, it aligns, right? The way we interpret love is when a woman respects us. We don't go looking for love. Men don't say, hey, you got to love me more in real life. That's not how that works.
Right.
What we look for is that, does she look up to me? Do I feel like a man in this relationship? The moment I stop feeling like a man, regardless of all the semantics, which I know we like to get into here, right? The moment I stop feeling like a man, it's a wrap. Because there's no good fruit that's going to come from that. The moment a woman stops feeling safe and secure, the way she interprets love, nothing good is going to come out of it. Everything else that happened in between is something we have to unpack with your particular stories as an individual. This has nothing to do with the community. This is romance we're talking about right now. Okay? And if you don't understand this, you're probably not capable of building a community anyway. So you really should not be talking about community if you don't understand how to build a relationship with a woman of your same society and community within that context. Okay? You're probably better off staying single and don't get married.
Okay, so you agree with the lineup that I said, like self-love and then romantic love, and then we can worry about the community. That's what it sounds like. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But I see where the gentlemen are coming from. I see where they're coming from, but a lot of it is coming from this context is lacking a little bit. You know, like they have some experience, but they're not on the other side of the experience, with the exception of Ron. You know, Ron was also a person who was married. He gave us some context. He was married. It's his second marriage, and he took his time, right? Everybody else were book smart. They were intelligent, and I want to learn from them because I don't operate that way. I want to learn from them. There's probably some things they know that I don't know. But when it comes to tacit knowledge, I think somebody just said they were married for 23 years. You can't compete with that. You don't read that in a book.
Right.
So it's funny, majority of these conversations are single people, and I get it. Maybe they have the time. I don't have the time. I barely jump on panels either. So, but you know, I appreciate this one.
Okay, so you kind of touched on what was going to be my next question. So I think we all noticed that in this space, there are a lot of single people speaking.
Yeah.
Single
Yeah.
people, they weren't even raised in two-parent households. It's like a lot of talking points tend to get recycled. And do you think that the perspectives on a lot of these things would be different if they were coming from married people rather than single people? And if so, what do you think the focus would be on if the majority of the people in this space were married for a substantial period of time in healthy relationships?
So it wouldn't necessarily be good either. You know, one thing I hate is echo chambers, right? Because married people sometimes get in their head too. By the way, probably more than half of them are not necessarily in happy relationships either. Mm-hmm. You know, so it depends on, again, what are we talking about? Are they actually? I'll tell you like this: most people will have to go through some kind of crisis to really understand how these things work. Even the married ones. And if they don't, they also repeat talking points. They also get the woman get in the echo chamber, the husband gets in the echo chamber, and they make themselves feel better, but they keep circulating the same funk, right? So it's not necessarily better that we have a bunch of married people talking at each other too. I think we need all of it. We need to have this conversation, single people, married people. We need to have respect for people that are having the experience of being single. We need to have respect for people that have the experience of being married, especially for more than a decade. Mm-hmm. I personally believe that a man doesn't know himself until he's been married for more than a decade.
What changes?
You don't know yourself. You allowed somebody into a space that they can absolutely destroy you. Mm. And they will attempt to destroy you even if that wasn't the intention. You know, and how do you come out on the other side of that, right? If you can make it to the other side of that, then you will have some insights that you just can't read in a book.
Mm,
Ow, ow,
okay,
ow.
go ahead.
What's up, bro? What's up, Obi? Are you there? You're
Oh,
muted.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, we
No, no,
can
no.
hear
I,
you.
I, I was excited by something you said. You said they could potentially destroy you, even if they didn't mean to.
Yes.
So I want you to elaborate on what you mean by that.
It's emotions, right? Emotions, this whole thing that we crave for so much, we call it the femininity, right? It does not give a shit about your feelings when it's really at full play. When a woman is resting in her femininity, right? The idea is that she's feeling safe and secured. And the moment you pull that or something messes that up, right? We're talking about emotions. Also, when a man gets caught up in his emotions too, it's usually anger, right? So the product of that, when you mix it all together, is chaotic, right? So people that love themselves at a very passionate level, especially when there's vested interest, there's children, and someday man never sees this coming, right? And she says, I haven't been happy. I haven't felt so good for so long. And then you're like, what? Right? They're oblivious. They can't see it coming. So absolutely, it can destroy you as a man. Just finding that out that your wife has not been happy for 3, 4, 5 years. The first thing you want to say is that you're a liar. So let's start with that and then look at all the layers of things that can transpire because people get caught up in their emotions. It's not deliberate. They're not trying to hurt you. This is just how human beings react when they find themselves in the funk of emotions all over the place. It's chaotic, including men.
Okay, I want to hear your perspective on it because I know this comes up sometimes. It's a little sidestep, but it's something you said. So you talked about like a woman when she's resting in her femininity, her desire is to feel safe and secure, right?
No, it's a product. Femininity is a product of her feeling safe and secure.
Okay, so as a result of feeling safe and secure, she's able to be feminine.
Yes.
I know a lot of men in this space push back on that idea of like conditional femininity. So like
Right.
she's feminine because she's safe, like she should be feminine regardless of the circumstances. Do you think that's realistic?
It's the reality. It's just the reality. I don't know why we're pushing back on reality, but how else would you have it? That she just wake up one day and say, I want to be feminine. That's not how it works. Now, with that being said, there's some aspects of the Black American community talk that I try to stay away from because I just can't relate because I was raised in Africa. So, I kind of stay away from it because they have certain experiences I can't relate with. But I understand that the condition of a community can affect how a woman show up femininity. And women are in a space right now, from what I can see, that they have to be a little bit more intentional, right? Like, even if it means walk away, if you don't feel safe and secure before you become another masculine woman
Right.
in a relationship, right? So I think we're in that space that everybody should, should put some effort into that. But ultimately, at the core of it, with our social construct, a feminine woman, is a feminine woman, a submissive woman, a woman will trust you. It's a product of a certain way that a man moves. I'm sorry, it's the
Shots.
reality.
I agree with you. I just never heard a man say it. So that's interesting. So okay, so I guess just to kind of like sum up what you were saying, you believe that the who loves you more is it's situational. It's like I guess you see benefits of either side. Is that kind of
Say that again.
the who loves you more, like who should love the other person more? You said that it's kind of like situational or like it depends. So you think it just kind of
My belief system is that the man should be loving, the woman should be respecting. Everything else that will come from that is going to be a product of. I believe that the woman is an incubator in every sense you can think of it. She receives and multiply. So if I wait for her to love me first before I love her, I'm actually shooting myself on the legs, because if I'm the seed carrier. I sow seeds. If I don't feel like I like this woman enough to do that, then I need to walk. I need to literally walk from that situation. That's the way I look at it. It's a perspective. The other gentlemen are not necessarily wrong. It's my perspective. I believe that you go into a relationship, all of us, men or women, you go there to give. If you can't do that, walk away. There's options for you. Don't spend time with people that you feel like you have to be competing with. Who loves who more? That's a competition. Stay away from marriage if you think that way. It's not worth it. You can actually stay single today. It's actually acceptable.
So you think men lead the charge in love, and then women should lead in respect? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. No, women, respect is earned.
Right.
So even that part, right? It's a product of, and I know it sounds unfair to a lot of gentlemen, but it is what it is. It's the reality. The more you argue with reality, you're shooting your destiny, man. I just want everyone to basically stay focused on being the part that I agree with. Stay focused on your purpose and stop asking women to love you more. I actually personally think it's lame. I'm sorry.
So, okay, so in terms of that, what is your advice to men then? Like, how should they navigate those spaces? Because it sounds like there is a fear there that if I love her more, then she has potentially more power over me, I guess. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is your recommendation for them in that regard?
Oh, thank you for saying that, because the truth is that it is fear, right? And fear is powerful. It can hold you hostage. That's the truth. And I want to acknowledge that from all the gentlemen that feel like it's just a bad idea, right? But my advice to them is to focus back on self-love. Like, if you really feel like you have to measure and compete with a woman when it comes to who loves who more, just focus on loving yourself. Have some self-love, have some self-respect. Focus on your self-esteem, your self-worth. Maybe this is one of the few times I'll say, maybe keep your eyes on the bag then. Maybe that will make you feel a little better. I think money actually multiplies who you are, but that's another conversation. But I think it's self. I do have a formula with my wife. It's God, purpose, and self. Human beings are not capable of unconditional love. The only source of it is if you actually subscribe to some kind of higher self, God, something that both of you agree on, that this is what we're subscribing to. The P in it is purpose, right? Purpose is bigger than any of the individuals. So it's not a matter of I'm choosing my wife for my purpose. It's bigger than me. So that's not questionable. And then self. And then if you focus on those things, I think things tend to fall in place. Then if I want a girl, I want her because I want her. Right? There are many things that has to align that I don't have to be overly cerebral about. I don't have to overly think about it. There's certain types of girls that just won't end up in my world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If certain type of girls are, I just posted a video on my Instagram today of a bunch of girls that said they would rather get with a sugar daddy who gives them $20,000 a month than a guy who makes $90,000 a month. All the girls on Fresh and Fit said that. Mm. I laughed about it, but I don't know these girls.
Right.
I just don't know these people, So it goes back to self. Either you're a man or woman. It really goes back, especially a man, because I see that it's only mostly women that are saying this, and some of them are saying it out of selfishness. But especially a man, you deserve a good life too. You deserve to focus on yourself too as a man. You deserve to focus on yourself. You deserve to stop asking so many questions of why a woman does not love you as much. You deserve to get over that girl from high school. You deserve to move on from that wife that dumped you after 5, 10, 25 years. It's easier said than done. Exactly, because it's highly rewarding on the other side of it. It's work. It takes a lot of work.
Yo, this guy, I'm taking notes right now. This guy's spinning. This guy is spinning.
I love spending time with a beautiful lady, but Obi, I gotta find another time to come here and chop it up with you.
Man, talk to me, man. What's up?
No problem. We're good, man. I'm away right now. I'm sewing, okay. But I was going to super chat earlier, but this was a powerful conversation. This is a powerful channel, man.
I appreciate you.
I love what you're doing, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Kiana, you had one more question for the man.
Yeah, it was just going to be just because the concept of self love came up so much in our dialogue. And then we both kind of said that we believe that that's kind of the first step. And so I guess my question was for you. A lot of people associate self love with selfishness and they see it as like you're just worried about you. And I think people don't quite understand what self love is. And I don't hear a lot of men talk about it. So I was just hoping that you could expound on the importance and why that is necessary for a man's mission, the self love component first.
All right. So let's say, for example, I tell men to avoid arguing with a woman, right? And a lot of them are like, wait, what? Some of them I've heard enough, and you can look at that two ways, two different ways. That she's less than, right? Don't argue with that. That's not what I'm talking about, right? The other way of looking at it is like, listen, the reason why you're in active argument with your woman is because you have a need to be right. In fact, if she doesn't make you right, you don't feel like you're right. In fact, you don't believe you're right. In fact, you're not. You need to convince yourself that you're right. And the way you're doing it is this active argument. And we're talking about in a romantic context. In other words, you're expecting her to be quote unquote an adult, but actually both for your kids in that moment. Because if you were an adult, you will realize that, wait, this is my wife that I have sex with every night. So she's not thinking right now. She's not capable of thinking. You know, forget all that. I can't think right now because I'm caught up in my emotions and I need to be right about whatever this topic is, right? So self-love, self-esteem, all these things is basically self-validation. Like you are a solid person all by yourself already, right? That doesn't mean you don't need validation. That doesn't mean it doesn't feel good when my wife tells me I'm handsome, right? It feels good. I love that type of validation, but there's context. You know, if I come off needy, if you become a needy person in a relationship, she would dump your ass even when you don't expect it. Especially if you're a good guy. Especially you, that you're not a pookie. Okay, even Kevin Samuels said it himself. Like the pookies are overcompensating when it comes to social skills. You're not gonna negate that. You're not gonna act like, oh, Pookie is just getting all of. No, that's not. There's a reason, and you need to engage why. Beyond right and wrong, beyond good and bad guy. It's more to this thing than, oh, it's either black or white. It's 1 and 0. There's more to it. Because we're emotional beings. We like, listen, this whole thing we say, oh, we're in a place where everything is romance, everybody want to be happy. We all want to be happy. Stop the cap. We all want to be happy. I mean, the temporary feeling of feeling good. We all want that. It's easy to run into the talking point that says duty and responsibility. Let me tell you something about duty and responsibility. If you've not gone to war and sign up, which is majority of us, stop talking about duty and responsibility so much, because you're capping big time. You don't know what that is, especially if you've never been married more than 2 years in a row, right? You don't know what that is. What it looks like is that sometimes it feels terrible, but you stay in it, right? Regardless of the environmental factor. The environmental factor starts with your wife. That's a whole nother human being entirely. And what she's processing in her mind is a function of so many things. The first 18 years of her life, you don't know what you don't know, right? So back to self-love, right? Self-love will allow you to be able to handle a lot of things that's coming your way when you engage a romantic relationship. This romantic relationship thing is going, like, listen, there's no amount of premarital counseling, which I do advise you should go through, that's going to save you from the crisis that will hit you when you get married. But when you have adequate self-love, you're able to walk away from certain situations. When you have self-respect, you're able to say, even though it's not a permanent decision, I can walk away and not engage in certain behavior, right? If we can't have a conversation here as gentlemen on a simple panel, what makes you think you can handle a woman? That's actually much more complicated. So I need people to get out on the streets. I don't know how long this has been running, for 3 hours. I know Alan is not going to run this for too long. But there are people that run 12 hours live streams and they forget to get out on the streets and actually engage women and practice. Practice. Talk to a woman. Get dumped a few times. What does that feel like? So that the next, when you get in a marriage and you have a little blue balls for 2 days, you have self-love. It's not that deep, right? She's caught up in her feelings. The more you can do that, the more you get some.
Drop the mic.
Man, you got to come back, please.
I'll try. I'll try.
gotta
You're my friend. We have mutual friends all over the place. My time, But I have to. I've been trying to. I like your channel, man.
I
Good job.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yes,
much. You
sir.
dropped a lot of gems on us. I don't want to take up too much of your time. And we have other brothers in the back, but thank you so much, man. I appreciate
Let's
you.
do Kiana. Thank you so much. She's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Take care, man.
All right.
All right. Whew. Man, that brother was spitting. Not gonna lie.
I like talking to him because I think that he's different than, well, first of all, he's married. So that's the first thing. And so a lot of his thoughts were very different than what we've heard tonight. And you know what, Alan? I think that a lot of times people say like my thoughts are like they are because I'm a female, but me and him didn't really disagree on a lot of things. So I don't know.